Hello, welcome to this video on Dhammapada chapter 8, verses 11 to 16. That's verses, should be in the plural, verses 110 to 115 in the consecutive numbering. I'm doing these 6 together because they are all very, very similar in structure and as just changes of some of the vocabulary from one to the next. It's the same kind of repeating the same idea, but with changes of vocabulary that do not, in fact, I think I'm right in saying, alter the grammatical structure. So it'll be convenient to deal with them all in one lot. So I'll read out verse 811, verse 110 first. Yo chavassa satanjive dussilo asamahito Ekahan jivitam seyo silavantassa jayino. And again, with the text up for you. Yo chavassa satanjive dussilo asamahito Ekahan jivitam seyo silavantassa jayino. So yo, the relative pronoun who, yocha literally and who, but who often has the meaning of whoever. This could also have read yokochi. In the earlier verse, a couple of verses ago, we had yankinchi in the neuter singular form, whatever. The nominative masculine singular would be yokochi, whoever. So, and here it's just yocha, and who, and whoever. Jive, just from the root jiv, jivati, to live. Jive, optative form, whoever might live. Vassasatam, 100 years, that is a year, 100. Vassa originally meant rains, actually. So, like in English, we talk about, he was a lad of 15 summers and so on. You talk about the number of rains. So, Vassasatam, 100 rains and 100 rainy seasons, meaning 100 years. So, Yochavasa Satan Jive, whoever lives, whoever might live 100 years. Dussilo Asamahito. Now, this is the same sila, behavior, conduct, and by extension, virtue, that we saw in the previous verse. So, just as dukkha, and lots of, the dussilo, with bad conduct, behaving badly. So dussilo, of bad sila, asamahito, unconcentrated, that is, with his mind unconcentrated. I will call up the, oops, where are we? Here we are. There we are. Samahita, it's our word samadhi. So it's from the root dha, which the original meaning was just to put. In the Indo-European languages, you often find an overlap between putting and doing. And this root dha turns up in English as our word do. So there we are. It's actually the same word, but in Sanskrit, in Pali, it has the meaning of putting. When it comes at the end of a compound, it's not samadha, but samadhi. That's why it's samadhi. So the verb samadha, to concentrate, adha, to put towards yourself. Some means to gather in towards putting. In other words, you're gathering in the scattered mind and pulling it towards yourself. Samadhi. It makes an irregular past participle. You would have expected to see dhata, but it's not. The past participle is in effect hitta, which means put, but also by extension, it means that which is good or beneficial. The Buddha taught lokassa hitaya, for the hitta, for the benefit of the world. So past participial form. So you're in samadhi, and you are samahita, gathered in samadhi. So if you negate that asamahito, as at the end of the first pada, you are unconcentrated. So yochavasasatanjive, whoever might live, a reign hundred for 100 years, dussilo asamahito, with bad conduct, of unconcentrated, that is, of unconcentrated mind, scattered mind all over the place, asamahito. Then, like colon, that's not syntactically part of the sentence. The next sentence, so to speak, stands independently. It just invites the comparison to be made between the person who lives 100 years, behaving badly and with an unconcentrated mind. Ekahan jivitang seyo. Now, ahang means a day. Ekaham means either for a day or as an adjective, I mean lasting one day. And here in the accusative, neuter accusative, ekaham jivitam, a one-day life, meaning a life lasting only one day. So, a one-day life. Ekaham jivitam. So ekaham jivitam seyo, a life lasting only one day. Seyo is better. For, we've got two genitives / datives coming up here. Silavantassa jayino. So silavat, or in its extended form, silavantaha, one who is possessed of sila. So a life lasting only one day is better. For silavantassa, the virtuous person, jayino, who meditates. This is the dhyana, Pali jhana. It's the same one that came into Japanese and was pronounced Chan in Chinese and Zen in Japanese. So dhyana, jhana. If one meditates, dhyayati, Pali jhayati, he meditates, and you can be a meditator. So jhayin, so jhayino, for the meditator. So ekahan jivitang seyo, a one-day life is better. Silavantassa, for the virtuous person. Jhayino, for the meditator, for one who meditates. I'll mention here that this the word jhayin, Pali allows a pun to be made. In Sanskrit, there are two entirely separate roots, dhya and kshi. And in kshi meaning to destroy or burn up. And there's the kshayati, and kshayati in Pali, in Sanskrit, we would normally expect to see kai, the ksha to ka, is normal Sanskrit to Pali, but here it becomes jayati, and you often see a pun, because this homophony, the same sound in jayati meditates, jayati burns up. The pun, you can't do it in Sanskrit because dhyayati kshayati. In Pali, you can do that pun, and you do often see it. And some people even interpret it as meaning burning up because you're burning up the asavas, you're burning up the nasty bits, like consuming it in a fire. So I'll read this through once more, and then we'll go on to the next, go straight on to the next verse. Yo chavassa satanjive dussilo asamahito ekahanjivitang seyo silavantassa jayino. By the way, this silavantassa, it's this ending vatvant, which, as I've mentioned more than once before, it can have two alternative forms in Pali. It's essentially the same as the past participial ending. You can have silava, that's at the end of the Karanimetta Sutta, silava, dasanena sampanno, bhagava, or you can make it into an ordinary akaranta declension, silavantassa. So in the genitive of the consonantal declension, it would be silavato. So if you had, instead of silavantassa here, instead of that you had silavato, it would be equally correct and would mean exactly the same thing. Sanskrit will allow shilavataha only. Sanskrit, you can't make the vat ending into an akaranta shabda. You can't have shilavantaha in Sanskrit. It doesn't work. In Pali, you can do either. There would be either silavato or silavantassa jhayino. So I'll go on now to the next one. Yo chavassa satanjive duppanyo asamahito ekahanjivitang seyo panyavantassa jhayino. Right? You see, the same as the previous verse, structure is exactly the same, grammar is exactly the same, but with some change of vocabulary here. So in the previous verse, instead of duppanyo, it was dussilo, bad conduct. Here, duppanyo means of little wisdom or of no wisdom, a life without wisdom. This prefix du can most often means bad. It can also mean deprived of something. For example, bala, strength. Durbala actually means lacking in strength. Durbala in Sanskrit, dubbala in Pali. Yes, duppanyo, not so much of bad wisdom, but lacking wisdom. Asamahito, same as the previous verse. Ekahanjivitang seyo panyavantassa. Here, instead of silavantassa, panyavantassa. So it's just panya in both lines. The panya replaces sila, so wisdom replaces virtue, good conduct. Note here, normally the word panya, as we know, on its own has a long a. When it's compound, in a compound, it can either shorten it to a or retain it as a long a. Either would have been be equally correct. So going along now to the next one. Yo chavassa satanjive duppanyo asamahito ekahan jivitang seyo panyavantassa jayano. Sorry, I get myself mixed up. Should have read 813. Here we go. Sorry about that. Yo chavassa satanjive kusito hina virio ekahan jivitang seyo viryamarabhato dalham. So Kusito, lazing about. It's probably um, from the ku, which is a Sanskrit prefix meaning badly, a bit like du, but ku, not quite as strong as du. So kusito, literally badly sitting. In other words, sitting about idly when you shouldn't be, when you should be getting on with things. So the idea is indolent, lazy. Kusito, hina virio. Now the virio means one's energy, and hina means deprived of energy. So deprived of energy, lazing about with no energy. By the way, this video in Sanskrit, give you my iPad. In Sanskrit, virya, 2 syllables, virya. In Pali, it becomes 3 syllables. So instead of the long virya, the two short virya. Occasionally, you'll see the first lengthened, virya. Virya is, I think, with a short I is the more common. But here we see hina viryo. Just look at the yeah, both texts that I have, all 3 texts that I've looked at have a long E. So hina viryo, deprived of energy. Ekahan jivitam seyo, same as before. Viryam arabhato dalham. So arabhati means to take hold of, to gather up, so literally, or to begin, um, literally gathering up your energy, so exerting energy. This rab means to take hold of on its own. It comes into Latin as rap, as raptor, rapacious, the verb to rape, meaning to take by force, and is that rub. So arabhati, to grab onto it, get it going, get your energy worked up. This is the present participle, genitive singular, arabhato. If it were declined, as it can be in Pali, with the anta ending, it would be arabhantassa, arabhantassa. But here we have it in the more classical Sanskrit form, arabhato, of him who, like girding up, viryam. Dalham, it's maybe from the same root as our dri, meaning to hold. I've not done a note on it. For instance, dharma, but the roots became separated in the language, and so the dri root. Let me give you so our very well known dri, to hold, from which we get dharma, and this is dri, from which we get dri means to be firm or solid, and we get dridha. Often when you get a h plus t in a past participle in Sanskrit, it becomes dridha. So dridha, and that mutates to dalha, the retroflex dalha in Pali, means firmly, steadfastly. And here it's in the neuter form, making an adverb, firmly, steadfastly. Viryam arabhato dalham. So steadfastly girding up, getting one's energy going, starting up one's energy. So I'll read this through once more. Yo chavassa satanjive kusito hina viryo ekahan jivitam sayo Viryam arabhato darlahu. Sorry, darham, adverbial form, steadfastly. Now go on to next one, 814. Yo chavassa satanjive apasam udayavyayam ekaham jivitang seyo passato udayavyayam. And whoever might live for 100 years, apasam udayavyayam. This is the present participle, apasam, from root drish, present tense, pashyati, Pali passati, see, passam, seeing, Sanskrit would be pashyan, and negated form, apassam, not seeing. So whoever might live for 100 years, apassam, not seeing, udaya vyayam. Udaya, the rising and falling away. Whoever does live for 100 years without seeing the rising and the falling away of things. So it's the root I, which makes one of its verbal nouns aya. So udaya means the upcoming, therefore the arising, coming into existence. And vi, the separative particle, vi plus aya becomes vyaya. So udaya vyaya. In Pali, this first year often disappears, so you can see it vaya. In fact, I think the correct words are vaya dhamma sankara, pamadena sampadeta, vaya dhamma, vaya, so sabbe sankara vaya, vaya dhamma sankaras, vaya dhamma, so vaya or vyaya, fading away, passing away, vaya dhamma, having the nature of passing away, sankara, compounded things. So Vedhamma Sankara, often translated sonorously as all impermanent are all compounded things, but more colloquially, everything's been put together is bound to come to bits in the end. Vaya, the coming to bits, coming apart. So ekaham jivitam seyo passato. Now here we have the genitive, apasam nominative, masculine nominative singular, negated, apasam not seeing. Passato is the genitive form, for him who sees, or of him who sees. So ekahan jivatang seyo, a day of one life is better, for him who sees, udaya vyayam, the arising and the passing away. Again to the next one. 15, here we are. Yo chavasasatanjive. Sorry. What have we just done? Oh, sorry, 815 is correct, yeah. Yo chavasasatanjive apasam udayavyayam ekahan jivatang seyo passato amatam padam. This verse is identical to the previous one, save just the closing words. So the closing words in the previous one, udayavyayam, are replaced by amatam padam, that immortal abode, the deathless state. This pada, neuter padam, it's a polysemic word, a number of meanings. It's from the same root as our English word, same origin, I should say, as our English word foot. So you're footing, you're going. It also means a word, an abode or a state. So amatam padam, the deathless state. So whoever lives 100 years not seeing udayavyayam, arising and passing away, ekahan jivitang seyo, a, a life of one day is better, is preferable. Passato amatam padam, for the person who sees. Remember, genitive singular of the seer, for the person who sees. Amatam padam, the that immortal abode, the deathless state. Um, oh, and I put a comparison for verse 21 we had quite some time ago. Appamado, the non-pamada, non-heedlessness. Amatapadam is the abode of the deathless. You can say you can have it, you can separate it out, adjective and noun, amatam padam, as in verse 114, or you can make a compound of it, as in verse 21, amatapadam. And pamado machuno padam. Pamada, heedlessness, letting your mind run away. Machuno padam. Machuno, genitive of machu, Sanskrit mrityu, death. Machuno padam is the abode of death. And finally, 8:16 brings us to the end of this chapter. Yo chavassa satanjive appasang dhammamuttamam ekaham jivitang seyo passato dhammamuttamam. So whoever might live 100 years not seeing the uttama, cognate with English utmost, therefore supreme, not seeing the supreme, the unequaled Dhamma, ekahan jivitang seyo, a life of one day is preferable. Passato, again, that's the genitive singular, for the seer, for the person who sees. Dhammamuttamam, the supreme Dhamma. Right, that brings us to the end of chapter 8, the Sahasravago, and that's all on this video.